What's up, guys? This is Connor Within Your Driveway Auto. I dropped a video recently, just YouTube short, got a lot of views and a lot of comments, and in those comments, there was a couple of really good questions, and I wanted to take the time to address those questions in a video. I felt like I couldn't really answer them properly in a comment or in a reply, so I wanted to make a video addressing them one by one. So if you have other questions like this or questions about this video, go ahead and leave a comment here and I'm going to address it the best way that I can. And that'll give you kind of more content to watch and everything too. So go ahead and leave a comment. And while you're at it, you might as well hit like and subscribe. Well, if you like the video, hit like, but go ahead and subscribe regardless because I'm going to start getting better at these videos, I promise. So they'll start getting better for you to watch and everything. So I'm going to go ahead and get right into the first question. And this comment was from, I got a bunch of notes here written down, so I'm going to be referring to my notes a lot. So just bear with me. It's from Jacob Stacy 588. And they asked, I'm a flat rate automotive technician. My job actually offers the mobile service, but it would be a pay cut for me. I would be hourly, but besides that, I've thought about doing side work on my days off. And he says, is it worth it? Is the customer base different? Do you charge an hourly labor rate like a shop would? And then he said, I imagine you don't get into anything too big because you ain't got lift. I think he meant you don't have a lift. So first of all, I want to say thank you for leaving the comment and asking the question. And I hope that this helps you out just based on my experience and everything. The other thing I want to say too is, I'm sure you're pretty aware of like whether your current place of employment would view this as a conflict of interest or something like that. You got to be real careful when you start doing stuff on the side. But if your shop is okay with it, say they're overrun and or overbooked and they're trying to, just trying to get customers through and they really don't care whether the customers come there or go to another shop or whatever. If that's the case and you're cool with your boss and everything, that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and approach this from that kind of scenario to where it really wouldn't be a problem for you. So anyway, let's get right into it. The first question he asked is it worth it? And my answer to that is yes, especially for part-time or after-hours work. Now, it's kind of the same rules in any industry. If you work for yourself, if you're doing it part-time, you don't really have you can kind of go at your own pace that you want to, so you can add whatever customers you want or add whatever work you want or, work whatever hours you want to work. And you don't really have to worry about trying to get all of your customers in all at once so that you can pay your bills and everything, because this is just kind of like just for extra income or extra just to spend your time doing something or something like that. So it would be really easy to get into this for part-time work. In my opinion, I think it would be worth it. I think it'd be a really easy way to have a side hustle. I have a couple of things written down here about this question. Now, the upside is I have written down, you do the work you want for the people you want for the price you want, when you want, yada, yada, yada. So basically, you get to pick your work. So if you only want to do brake jobs or you only want to do oil changes or you only want to do tune-ups, whatever, then you can say, hey, this is all that I offer outside of my regular working hours. This is what I offer on the side as a mobile mechanic. And so you can pick that. You pick your own labor rates. Now, obviously, you want to stay competitive or slightly below the average in your area just to kind of get people in the door. So the good thing about that is your overhead's a lot lower than it is running a regular shop. And I'll kind of get into all this a little bit more here later on in the video. But anyway, you make a lot more money. You can charge less and make more for yourself because you're not paying lease, you're not paying other employees, you're not paying whatever, So it is worth it for that. Now, I did write down the downside is if you're used to working in a shop all the time, like I was before I started doing this, you're by yourself. You don't have the support of saying, hey, can you come over here and help me with this? At least in my situation, if you got a friend of yours that wants to do it with you, that's great. That would help out a lot. But in my situation where I'm at right now, it's just me. So I'm just out here by myself doing everything. So if I get into a job where I need an extra set of hands, I got to figure it out. So that's the downside of that. You also, with being by yourself, you handle everything with talking to customers, doing estimates, invoicing, bookkeeping, parts ordering, all that kind of stuff. You do everything yourself. Now, those other backside things, if you're just doing it as part time and you're only doing a customer or two a day, that's really not that big of a deal. It doesn't take a lot of time out of your day. But once you start doing it full time and that's how you're making your living, that stuff really does take up a lot of your day. And I've actually hired somebody to take care of my invoicing and my estimates, and basically a remote service advisor is what I've made the position for. So, but like I said, when you're just part-time, it's really not that big of a deal. Let's see. Oh, and the other thing is that you have to have a designated set of tools in your truck that's just for mobile repair. So, it's kind of a pain. You have to have a set of tools that's good enough to work on a car and do all the repairs that you need to do in your truck, locked and loaded, ready to go, right? So if you have like a huge set at the shop and you're trying to get that loaded from your shop or from like your place of employment to your truck, and then in the morning you get to the shop, unload it, and then before you leave, you load it back in your truck. That's just it would be such a pain. It honestly would make it not worth it, in my opinion, at least. So you definitely have to have, a smaller, not as big as you would. Like some guys have 12-foot cabinets just full of tools. I don't have that. I just have like a small, just what I need for the work that I do. I got 2 6-drawer toolboxes. I actually have another video talking about what kind of tools I carry and all that kind of stuff. So definitely that is a downside. You have to get a second set of tools, and that costs money, takes time, takes up a large chunk of your truck bed and everything, or your van or whatever you're using. All right, so that's enough time spent there. Let's go on to the second question. The second question is the customer base different? So yes and no. And it's kind of weird to say yes and no. I hate when people say that, but let me just explain. So no, the customer base is not different than what most shops deal with, in the sense that everybody that calls a regular shop is probably calling you. And also, as a mobile mechanic, sometimes people get in the mindset where they think that you're kind of like, you're not a professional, so they think that you're like Joe Blow down the road that's going to come in and spend 4 hours fixing their car and charge them like $80, and that's just not the case. So like you get those guys that call you, and then you get all the regular clientele that, some clientele's, I mean, if you've worked in a shop before, if you've worked with customers, you know who I'm talking about. They're usually pretty difficult to work with. And that's in any area you work, that's in any population, no matter any demographic, whatever it is, there's always a couple of people that are just going to be a pain, right? So no, it's not a different clientele than that's calling you. But where the yes part comes in is that the difference is, if you work for a shop or you work for a chain or something like that, it's really hard to turn people away and say no, 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 no. But if you're doing it part-time, and even if you're doing it full-time like I do, you can kind of choose who you work for. So if you have a customer who's being real problematic, you can never work for them again. Or if you kind of get a feel for like what kind of customer is going to be problematic. And so when you're talking to them and you're kind of doing the estimate building and stuff like that, if they start asking certain questions or acting a certain way, you can kind of tell like, okay, this guy's going to try to not pay me at the end, or this guy's going to be a pain, or he's never going to be happy with the work I do, or something like that, So you can kind of preemptively say, hey, I don't think that we're the right company to work for you. So that is the difference of the customer base. When you're working with yourself, you can pick your clientele and you can train your client base the way you want them to be trained, so on and so forth. All right. So the third are we on question 3? I think we're on question number 3. So the next question, regardless, is, do you charge Do you charge an hourly rate? So, yes, I do charge an hourly rate. I have a set hourly rate, just like every other shop. Now, right now, since, like I said, my overhead is a lot lower than a brick and mortar shop, and I'm not able to provide every service that a brick and mortar shop is able to do. So, my hourly rate is a little bit lower than most shops in this area. Now, it's not half the price or anything like, or 40% of the price or anything that crazy low, because it is kind of a premier service that you offer as a mobile mechanic coming out to somebody's house, so they don't have to take time out of the day. But it is lower than most shops around here. And so I'll look at a job just like a shop will. I'll look at a job, see how many hours it's going to take for me to do that job. And based on my hourly rate, I'll let the customer know ahead of time before I go to their house how much it's going to be. Now, I have had, let's see, 4 or 5 situations, maybe real few amount of situations where I've told the customer, hey, this is going to be kind of a crazy ordeal. I don't have any way of saying how long it's going to take. It's a little bit of some custom deals and stuff like that. I've told them, listen, my hourly rate is X. I'm just going to keep track of how many hours it takes me to do this. And it's just going to be that, however many hours I spend on it, that's what you're going to pay. And some people have said, okay, well, let's hold it off. Let's not do that. And so we don't do those repairs. But most of the time, I'd say if I did that 5 times, I'd say 4 times out of those 5, the customer has approved it and said, I understand. What you're saying makes sense. Let's go ahead and get it done anyway. So in those situations, I do charge by the hour. But most of the time I charge by the job, just like a regular shop. Just look at how many hours it's going to take me to do a job, apply my hourly rate, and let the customer know ahead of time. That way they know what they're looking at and they don't have any surprises on the back end. I'm real big about not surprising the customer after the work's done, right? Make sure that sticker shock is before the work's done. That way they have the choice of whether to say yes or no on it, okay? So, excuse me. The next thing is, he said, I'm assuming you don't get into anything big. So I kind of rephrased it as a question to say, do you get into anything big, any big jobs or anything like that? And I have gotten into some big jobs that have taken, 10-hour jobs. So I've replaced torque converters on some trucks. I've replaced timing chains. I've replaced electric steering racks on a Ford. And a couple of other jobs like that have just taken, 8 to 10 hours. Those are few and far between as a mobile mechanic. But there are some jobs like replacing a head or replacing a crankshaft, doing a cam, something like that. As a mobile mechanic, you can't really be sterile enough. If you're just out there in the open and the wind blows, it blows a bunch of dirt in your engine. Well, if you're doing a camshaft and a bunch of dirt just blows all into your engine and all over your cam lobes and everything where you're trying to put it in, it's going to be a bad day. So stuff like that, being a mobile mechanic, I can't really get into that kind of stuff. So for that reason, I don't believe that a brick and mortar shop will ever be phased out. They'll always be needed. So for those situations, I tell the customer ahead of time, hey, I'm very sorry to inform you, but I can't get into this just because of all these reasons. The customer says, okay, that makes sense. I appreciate you letting me know. And then we go about our day. So, and like I said, you can pick whatever jobs you want. So like if your company isn't, like I do a lot of gasket jobs. I still, even though it takes me a long time, I still do valve cover gaskets. But if you say, okay, I want to set my time limit at 5 hours. If a job is going to take more than 5 hours, I'm not touching it. And that's fine. If you have enough clientele to make up for that, it works out. My deal is I say 10 hours. So like if it takes more than 10 hours, I won't do it unless it's like some kind of special occasion or it's a customer that's been with me for a long time and only uses me, then I'll do that to kind of help them out and everything. But generally speaking, I don't do anything that's going to take me more than 10 hours to do, just because I don't want to be married to a car and have to go back several days in a row to continue doing the same repair, right? So that's how I do it. Most of the time, most of my jobs are alternators, brakes, and starters. That's in my area here in Birmingham. That's where I make most of my money, and that's what most people need around here. That's what I get the most calls for. So it's usually just pretty easy stuff anyway. But anyway, I hope that answered your question. If I created more questions than I answered, leave comments below, questions below, whatever you want to do. And then I'm going to keep making a couple more videos because I got a couple more comments I want to get through, a couple of different issues that people were asking me about, and I want to get through those. So stay tuned. Go ahead and subscribe so that you get a notification whenever those videos come out. And stay tuned for those. I'll be releasing those as soon as I can. But until then, y'all have a great day and stay safe out there, guys. Thanks for watching.